Hello, this is Shelly and Nate and Mario going to read 4 entitled parents. Number 1. No, you cannot have my window seat. Not every male that is older than your son is going to molest him. This is pretty ranty, so if that's not your thing, I would tap out. This happened like 4 years ago when I was 15. I had a flight from South Texas to Chicago. CA for shows that I had worked really hard to pay for. I bought the ticket way in advance and made sure I had a window seat that wasn't on the wing and close to the back of the plane. This is important to me because 1, I get very claustrophobic and hate being sandwiched between 2 people, and 2, I like to have the window to peer out to help with my claustrophobia. So I boarded my flight, super excited for this trip, and take a seat. A few minutes later, a little bit, probably age 7 to 10, sits next to me. I'm fine with it and have no problem with kiddos, especially if they're well behaved at that age. Most of them are quiet and awkward anyways. This boy is actually really nice. We made some small talk about the game he's playing on his DS. Then Mom leans over to the row and a short, already rude tone says that I need that seat to sit next to my son. I'm a little shocked at how rude she was and how she didn't pose it as a question or even say so politely. I think I am stammered out something like, I'm sorry, ma'am, I really need this window seat. When she interrupts me and says something about how she's going to get the flight attendant, and she was concerned for her son's safety. This part really scared me. Although I have been totally appropriate, a mom loudly implying you're creepy towards her child is not a good look. It doesn't help that I have social anxiety like any 15-year-old, and I quickly try to appease her just to get at a stuffu, which I know what that means. On a side note, although this wasn't a big deal here, can mom stop freaking assuming that every male is trying to molest your kid? It's really sad that in American culture, men basically have to be rude or to avoid kids like the plague, just to not look creep in people's eyes. I understand that stranger danger and all that, but come on, lady. You're 2 feet away and there's 100 people within a 10-foot radius. Pretty sure this people's gonna be fine. Not to mention, I'm an average polite-looking teenager. I offered to switch with her if she had a window seat, but she pointed to seat in the row ahead of me between 2 girthy gentlemen. No, thank you. I sit down and say, I'm sorry, ma'am, but maybe one of those gentlemen will move so you can sit next to your son. She rudely tells the guy that the butthole teenager won't move. So one of them has to, and of course they both say no way, probably valuing their window aisle seat as much as I did. At this point, she starts to yell at an attendant and asking her what's wrong. The lady then lays into the attendant for no reason, and she's threatening to call security and remove her from the plane if she can't contain herself. Finally, she realizes she's not winning and sits her butt down and shuts the hell up. The boy whispered a thank you to me because he didn't want to sit next to her butt either, and I shared my Oreos with him. Ended up being a nice flight. Bored, not bored. So, if you have claustrophobia and some woman is trying to, force you to move, just tell her to F off. Alright, next one. If it works. EP wants both our Switch systems. I found out about this subreddit a few days ago and decided to share a story that happened to me last month. So my GF and I recently got engaged, and rather than telling my parents over the phone, we went up to visit them. It's a long trip from where we live to my parents, about 5 hours. So rather than drive, we booked train tickets. We traveled up there with no issues and had a lovely weekend with my folks who couldn't be happier about the news. Then came time to return home. We boarded the train, and like our trip down, the 2 of us had our Nintendo Switches. The first hour was fine. We'd been playing Smash and decided to swap to Mario Kart. The train was pulling into its next station. A bunch of passengers got on. A woman, EP, mid-late 30s, and her son, EC, 6 or 7, sat on the chairs on the other side of the aisle from us. At first, nothing. The train moved from the station. A few minutes passed, and I glance and see that EC is staring at us from his seat. He notices me and then turns into his mom and says, and shouts, EC, Mom, I'm bored! EP, did you bring your game like I told you to? EC, no, I forgot! They have games! Get me theirs! EP tries to get our attention. At first, asking fairly politely if she could borrow one of our switches. I say sorry, but we're playing them. And then I'm not particularly comfortable borrowing my stuff to strangers. We go back to our game. That's when things turned ugly. EC at this point started crying and kicking the seat in front of him. Thankfully, no one is sitting in it. That's when she starts shouting at us. It's your fault! Hold on. Where was it? I forgot. God damn it. Hold on. See what he's doing now? It's your fault. Or this is your fault. I'm sorry, but how it is how is it my fault? You can't control your kid. GF. Yeah, you should have made sure to pack him stuff for him to do. If you knew you were bringing him on a long trip, maybe I told him, but he forgot. Me. Again, not our fault. You should have made sure that he had it. You can't expect a little kid to remember to grab stuff. At this point, he was ranting and raving, one of which I could barely understand over the kid's scream. But then, I did hear, EP. What do people your age, have these games for anyways? You don't need them. If anything, you should be letting us use both of them so I can play with my son. Me. Sorry, but we enjoyed these games. One of the reasons we're even traveling by train is an excuse so we can play them together. So now, can you please just leave us alone? In this time, I noticed only one passenger pointed out the confrontation to the conductor who'd been keeping an eye on the situation, but hasn't yet said anything or stepped in. Thankfully, at this time, EP has shut up, and even the EC started to calm down. But by this point, my GF and I had gotten to the point where we couldn't even be bothered to continue Mario Kart. We pulled both our Switch cases out of our bags and proceeded to pick what to play next. And we decided to go back to Smash to rid both of us to rid us both of some of the built frustration from the encounter. Now this next part, I admit I would have seen coming, and is partly my fault for leaving it in a place AC could reach. But he must have seen that I was keeping my case for my Switch, which had all the games I brought on the trip in my rucksack, that was hanging on the arm of my seat. But because suddenly I felt the bag move and hit my legs a few times, and just so I thought, is the train moving? But I glanced over, and there was EC holding my Switch case, pulling out the cards. Me, hey, tell him to give that back, or I'll come over and take it. EP, don't you dare threaten my son. Me, your son is a thief. Give it back now. EP, why are you not playing these games? Let him look. There are over 500 pounds worth of games in that case. Give me them now before he loses them. It was at this point that the sweetest piece of revenge happened. EC licked one of the Switch carts and decided to scream in terror. Now, for those who don't know, due to the small size of Switch carts, Nintendo coats them in a non-toxic bittering agent known as denatonium benzoate to discourage small children from eating them, and naturally it tastes awful. EP started screaming about how he poisoned her child, and the conductor finally came and stepped in. EP tried to play the victim, saying he stole both of their Switches and tried to kill his son by poisoning him, and demanded that they find the police. But the conductor wasn't having any of it. as he'd been given the same report by multiple passengers that his mother and his son were harassing us. He made her give us my switch case and games, and he made the decision to remove them from the train at the next stop and make her wait for another one. All while her kid was screamed in terror from the awful taste and licking from the cart that provided. The taste was quite a while on the tongue. The rest of the trip was extremely pleasant. The conductor couldn't do enough for us. At the stop, after the one EP and EC were forced to get off at, a mother and her daughter, about 10, sat in the seats behind us. She kept peeking over to watch our games and asked what game we played because we got to talk with her and get to know her. We actually share our systems with her, with permission from her mother first. Please, parents, raise your kids to be like this awesome young lady. I certainly hope any my GF and I would be like her, and not the annoying EC brat. This also deserves to be on the r/pro revenge on this bit. This bit decides to be on r/pro revenge. This whole bit, this bit, that decides to be on r/pro revenge. Next one. Entitled Dad asks me to have sex with his son. Okay, this is my second story about an EP I've met. Some people have already read it and they wanted me to post it. Also, people in my first story wanted some more. So here it is. Enjoy the perverted entitlement. This one happened 2 years ago when I was working in a hotel as a maid. It was kind of a crap hotel in a rough neighborhood. The kind of place with rooms you can rent for just 1 hour, if you know what I mean. Blah, blah, blah. Well, to be fair, the owner didn't want that and was putting a lot of effort to avoiding it, but it still happened. Also, it was close to the airport, so lots of people were sleeping there between flights. Or slept there the night before if they came from the countryside to catch a flight. Anyway, I was a maid then. I had my list of rooms to clean, like a little sign indicating if people were gone or if they were staying for another night, which in case I don't have to change the bed sheets. I was doing my rounds, and then this weird thing happened. PED, perverted entitled dad. EB, entitled brat, me. I think you know. I see a sign that says, please clean the room. Please clean the room, which normally means there's no one inside. And on the door, but I knock, just in case. Here's the conversation. PED, or pedo. Come in. Me, open door. Sorry, sir. Pedo. What are you sorry for? Me. I saw this clean-up sign. I thought there was nobody. I'll come back later. Try to close the door. Pedo. You can clean while we're in here. We won't trouble you. Okay, hotel rule. No cleaning the room while clients inside. Sorry, sir. I can't. Hotel rule. I'll be back later. Or maybe would you prefer I put the no cleaning needed sign on the door? I don't know. EB appears. Wait, don't go. It's me with the weird glint in eyes. You're cute. Thanks. I gotta go. I got a lot to do today. Pedo. Wait up. Comes closer. Yeah, she really is kinda cute. Me. Starting to feel scared. So, I have to get going. Pedo. Come on. My son likes you. Just stay up and have a little chat. I'll leave you two alone. Eb grabs my arm and tries to pull me inside. If you're as good as you're cute, you even get a little bonus. In my head, there were red warning lights flashing. I had to get away right now. Let me go or I'll scream. Pedo. Come on, he likes you and he's good with girls. Besides, if you're working this crappy job, you can't spit on extra cash. With that, he also tried to grab my other one. Ah! I just screamed like a crazy banshee. Pedo. Shut up, you snoot. Keep screaming and thrashing. Crashing or thrashing, whichever one it is. People in other rooms are coming out now. Clearly just woke up, wondering what the hell is going on. The pedo and EB pushed me out of the room so hard I tripped and fell on my cleaning stuff cart. Then they slammed the door in my face. A very nice old gentleman comes and asks if I'm alright. I get up and thank him for his concern. I didn't make a huge deal of it, because in that hotel it happens almost once a week. we apologized, but some other people, I apologized to the other people and offered them a free coffee in the lobby as a sorry token. Something we did when some jerk caused trouble. But when I got back to the staff room, I gave the room of the number to those two perverts to my co-worker. He was a 6'5" guy with a rugby player body. Very nice and gentle when you know him, but quite intimidating when pissed. He went to their room and they had a little chat. Today we laugh about it and some other perverts and weirdos we met at that job. Which was a shitty job, not gonna lie. And thanks for the support, everyone. Also, many people are asking, so the kid was around 17 to 19 maybe. So, if you have an entitled dad or a pedo, then run out of that room as fast as you can, screaming, F off. I'll run down and don't tell them to, but you're gonna run down to the manager and get them to have a little chat with them. Alright? The final one is horrible. I'll just tell you that. Then scroll up. EM causes me to have a car accident and harasses me about it for 3 years. I'm not sure if it should be entitled parents or entitled people, but I'll tell my story here. Okay, so a little background. EM is my mother, and she has the tendency of doing things like this throughout a lot throughout my life. Since believes that children should always obey their parents no matter how awful they treat them, since she works so hard to bring them into this world. I'm a very shy kid at the start of this, and closed off, hence my obedience to her, and a lot of my deep-rooted emotional and mental issues. Alright, struck for a considered 3-year event. So this all started in my last year of high school. I was more than old enough to start getting my driver's license. So to teach me and get ready for the driving test, EM would take me out at night or afternoon when I came home from school to show me how to use a car. I was stuck with EM and my younger brother. I had my dad teaching him. This goes on for a few weeks. I'm getting better. I'm more used to driving, where I can casually do this without issue. In comes EM one late night. Come on, we're going out for a drive tonight. Now, I was a little concerned since this was later than usual and I was tired that day, but I had no backbone to go against EM at the time. So I complied. We drove the usual route like we normally did, so it wasn't a big hassle. I got settled in pretty easily, and after a while, decided it's time to drive back. I go back the usual way. EM stops me and says, "Take a right turn down this road instead." This throws me for a second, since all the time of practice I realize I haven't done a single right turn this whole time yet. Still obliging. I make a note to myself to go as slow as possible, since this is a one-way street with cars on both sides, and I did not want to hit either of them, so I turn ever so slowly into the street to avoid hitting the car on the right in front of me when EM starts to say, "You're going to hit the car in front of us." What? No, I'm not. I'm not that close to it yet. Yeah, you are. You're getting too close. This is a very tight road. I still have some space. I just want to make sure so I don't hit the car to the right. But EM grabs the wheel from me mid-sentence and tries to forcibly pull it. I'm telling her to stop since we could crash, but I can't hold her back. The wheel turns all the way to the right, driving the car right into the car on the right side. I'm disoriented and caught off guard by just what happened, to notice my mum panicking, trying to have me drive away before someone sees what happened. Cue the owners of the car. They come out of the house. They come out the house and tap on our windows. They come out the house? What's the house? Anyway, and tap on our windows telling us to come out. They sat there for hours with me and EM, talking about how to pay for the damages. I'm just there, quite staring at the ground, not moving, and shaking the other car owners. Which really nice about the whole mess though, and didn't go at me and left me alone. After that, we go back home, and my brother back from practice hears what happens and teases me. I think they meant brother. I break down. I just start bawling all over the place. EM tries to comfort me when I say through tears, I don't want to drive again. What? No, you're gonna drive. You're gonna drive. You understand me? I'm so shaken I couldn't say anything, and I keep crying. I eventually got a bit of mess and ended up dead emotionally for a few days, and ended up having constant nightmares of me being unable to control car. I'm in and real. I'm in and in real life being a car started to give me tons of anxiety. Where to the kids at my high school, eventually after noticing my behavior, take me out to a Wendy's with them to ask him what's wrong. I tell him start crying again, but unlike EM, they comfort me and end up pulling me out of my rut. Distance between me and EM begins to grow from this point, and she even ends up blaming me for the crash and how much it cost her despite being her fault for grabbing the wheel and pulling it like that. A year later, I'm in college, and EM tries to force me to take $300 driving lessons and pay for them with my own money. I tell her, no, I'm not doing that. Why not? Because I don't want to drive. It doesn't matter. Come on, we're going to sign you up for those lessons. While I end up getting more backbone, I still couldn't stand up to EM that was still through her making me go all the way with a bedruttingly sign away $300 for these lessons. I end up dreading every week I have to go out for them, and my driving is stunted on them, and my teacher can't tell but doesn't say anything. Eventually, EM noticed my lack of will to take these lessons a few months in, and says, "You're wasting your money. If you don't want to do this, you shouldn't have said so, instead of spending $300 on these lessons." I start crying, but I'm also very angry, so I fire back saying, "I told you twice I didn't want to drive or take lessons even right before you made me pay for them. This isn't my fault." "Well, it doesn't matter. Now you're already so far, you're just gonna have to deal with it for the rest of the lesson." I'm speechless. I go to my room and cry my eyes out. Eventually, the test date for my license comes out, and in short, I broke down during the test and failed. And I went home, I cried my eyes out there too. In between the next time the jump school tells me, in between the next time jump the school tells me to come back for the next test, but I ignore and never respond to their calls, and refuse to tell EM. Another year passes, and the distance between us is at its point. EM and me getting very constant into arguments every month, and she can tell that I hate her. Eventually, one day, EM says to me, "So hey, we're thinking about driving down to Florida this year." "Okay." "Well, we don't have enough drivers for the trip, so how about you go get your license so you can take turns with us and take me down there?" Smiley face. Now I'm just dumbfounded. My anxiety in cars has only gotten worse mentally, and the nightmares have still continued for 3 years at this point. And I'm in no way any more comfortable inside a car to where I've been preferring to take buses instead. EM notices my lack of response and says, "You know, the crash all the way back those years, it wasn't your fault. You just have to get over it." Me. "Excuse me? You blamed me for 3 years and forced me to keep doing something I hated and made me very unhappy and uncomfortable. And everything else you've done has hurt me irreparably. And now you just want to say you're sorry? God, it's not that big of a deal. You're gonna get your license to drive us down to Florida, alright? You're my son. You should do this for your mother." I realize after months of having back and forth, like with EM like this, that there is no point and change her mind. So I end up ignoring her, begging and pleas and standing up for myself. I think it's meant to be plead. For months leading up to the drive down, and EM ending up having to drive herself down and deal with it. She doesn't bother me about driving since. Funny side thing though is that for my birthday, no one celebrated it with me in my house. I only learned from my younger sister later that it was 'cause EM said I didn't deserve anything, and that honestly made me smile. TLDR. I honestly don't know what that means. EM teaches me to drive, crashes car, blames me for blames me for it, makes me spend $300 to get taught again, then tries to force me to do it a third time to take her to Florida, causing me mental pain for 3 years since the initial crash. Now, if you're forced by your mother to drive a fucking car and she crashes you and doing all that stuff, slap your mother. Just go ahead, slap her. Okay. Now, if I was the kid who got the mother to crash the car, what I would do is I'd tell them my mother did it. Because I want to be honest as all hell. Anyway, that is Entitled Parents, and if I was getting lost of where I was, it's because this is my first one ever. Goodbye.